Welcome to episode 53 of the Face of the Future podcast. It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy Shane.
It's your boy Nostradamus. You know the vibes.
Nostradamus. What does that even mean, bro?
You know the guy Nostradamus that predicted everything.
What did you predict?
Oh man,
what did you predict?
What did I tell you last week?
You tell me. I don't remember.
What did I tell you last week about Trump and the Nazi Party and Hitler and everything else?
Bro, you really starting with that shit again, bro?
This boy started like since you on Trump though. I'll give you this. I won't give you this. I'll give us this in terms of. I just watched the Shannon's face is ridiculous. But I just before I got on this episode, so we're shooting a little later today. I was watching the CPAC 2021, and you know that's when the Republicans, the conservatives, they talk about what they're gonna do with the years going forward, leading up to the next election, and how we were talking about Trump's gonna come back and try to rally his troops and come back with a vengeance and all that stuff. It's exactly what he did. I caught like 20 minutes of him talking, you know what I'm saying? Because I only could take so much of just listening to him. But like the first thing he talked about was what the capture and release policy I think that Biden has in place when it comes to like illegal immigrants, where they just capture them, take their names down, whatever it may be, and release. And he made like a big deal about it. But the thing that he kind of like focused on was more so of the bad immigrants that come in, the people that aren't doing the right thing in terms of like people that may be associated with violent crimes or have been criminals in the countries that they're coming from, whatever it may be. But what he failed to discuss about, in my opinion, was the people that come to the country to, like you said, to seek asylum, to think to find a new way of life because they're living in their old country isn't ideal. So let's jump back to the catch and release thing. How do you guys feel about that law when it comes to immigrants and stuff like that?
So I mean, immigration is one of those tricky subjects, Mills. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm all for immigration as long as it's done the right way. You know what I'm saying? You want people to come in and become citizens the right way. As far as how it should be handled. So it's just they just catch them, write their names down, and they can go. I don't know if it's that cut and dry. I don't know if it's that cut and dry.
But that's obviously in the rhetoric when he was talking. That's why we made a scene to project his ideas to his masses of people. Do you feel me?
That seems like if you're just gonna be letting anybody in and not holding them accountable for coming in illegally, I don't like that at all. What
about you, Moose? How you feel about that?
Just his capture and release policy. Everything that he's saying is going to happen is not going to happen in terms of immigration. If everything, just me seeing that he basically has the same cabinet as the Obama administration, and just knowing that they already started opening cages up again to put illegal immigrants in. I don't see him in any way, shape, or form just like saying you're going to get captured and get released. Now they're going to stay there for extended periods of time. And how I really feel about it is like, what you have to understand is that when it comes to immigration, like you said, there are people that want to come here for asylum. There are people that are coming here to seek a new life. That stuff is stressful. And what ends up happening is that there may be a lot of different circumstances that people deal with. I know people personally that have stayed in America and that aren't legal citizens, and they're technically here illegally. So it's like, for me, I don't want to sit here and just be like, every single case is wrong, because not everybody that comes here is a bad person. So it's like, I feel like we should be a lot more sensitive about the topic, just not because of the fact of, basically just because of the fact of there's a lot more to it than people just thinking that, oh yeah, like you're just here and it is what it is.
I think when you're talking about something like this, you want to be very, very clear. Make your point very, very clear, like sort of dumb it down if you have to for it to make sense. You know what I mean? Because immigration is, it's a big topic and it's a tricky topic to discuss.
Why do you think that though?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why do you think
that? Why do you think that?
Just because of the way people feel about immigrants coming here. There's a lot of families that are immigrants. And like you said, not all of them are here legally. You know what I mean? So I think I have no issue again with people coming here to seek a new life, like you said, but I think they ought to go about it the right way.
Go ahead.
No, you can finish. I was going to ask, like, what do you define it as the right? How do you define that as the right way? Because it's like, what people don't understand, like, there's a lot of things that people don't understand about just even getting a meeting, just even being able to go to the embassy and go to different places and try to become a citizen is even difficult in itself, just because there's a lot of different processes that you have to take.
No
Like,
doubt.
I'll be a little bit transparent here. Like my uncle, for example, he's technically here legally because he's on a work visa. But it's like, just even that, it's like, what my uncle does is basically works on cell phone towers, like how we have our data on our phone. Like, he's in charge of the towers and making sure that you have the best range, right? And he studied that in Nigeria. He got here, he had to get put in like 3, 4 different states. Mind you, like, my little cousin stay in Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he had to stay in South Carolina for like 2, 3 years. He had to stay in Florida for like a year, Texas for like a year, all these different things because of the fact that he had a work visa and that's where they wanted to put him. Um, and it was really, really difficult. And that's why I said, it's like, how do you go about things the right way? Because it's like, there's even some people who, like my uncle, there was a case where his visa was expiring and he didn't know what he was going to do because he was working through a temp firm. So it's a little bit difficult because it's like, what do you define it as the right way when you have, for example, your kids may be here and they're legal, they're U.S. citizens, but you're not. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah, I
mean,
get what you're
that's
saying. The process is definitely flawed. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to make the process better because it takes even people that I'm talking about the right way, about people that take all the necessary steps. But with those steps, I get what you're saying. It can take up to 10 years, 10 plus years just to become a legal citizen. But as far as it goes, I think you definitely want people here for the right reasons and to be here legally and pretty much for themselves, because if not, you get put in these detention centers, you get sent back home, you know, you can get jail time because of it. So I mean, it's tricky because these people, they're not worried about, they're willing to risk all that just to come here. So that's why I say it's like a tricky thing to talk about. There's no right way to go about it. There's a lot of other countries that don't want to let nobody else in.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
and
true.
another thing that popped up that Trump has said in his speech today was dealing with immigration is like, he's like, we're one country, we should be focused on our problems and not the world's problems when it came to like people immigration. I kind of didn't like that in a sense. And just like the tone of what he said, like, yeah, you're supposed to be focused on the domestic and all that stuff like that, but I feel as though if there's people coming here for the opportunity that we present to the world, because that's something that America does all the time, we're the land of opportunity, whatever it may be, and they're willing to take the proper steps, as Shannon was talking about, to come here the correct way, whatever that may be. Like I said, the system is flawed when it comes to that. They should be allowed to. If it's not hurting our country in any way, I don't think there should be a cap necessarily on who can enter and who can't enter, as long as it's not gonna harm us in the long run. And that's where like your background checks, I feel like, come into play. The government in general just doing the research on the people that are coming in. Um, do you think it's our country's duty to allow people that are seeking a better life to allow them to come in, or do you think we don't necessarily have to?
Like I'm saying, this is tricky because you think about it, like you don't want to let any bad people in, like let's just use for example like terrorists.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You want to make sure people are coming here for the right reasons. You know, so I mean, I don't know exactly how you can do that in a basic interview process to get like a work visa or something here, because people could be lying. You don't know what somebody's true intentions are.
I
So
feel you.
it's just a tricky situation.
Um, I think Trump really sounds fucking stupid. The reason why I say that is just like, it's disrespectful to people who come into this country and work their ass off and, put the US in a good light and put a lot of these world renowned companies in a good light because they work their asses off. When you look at things like IT, you look at when you look at things like IT, you look at things like business, when you look at a lot of other business financial companies, a lot of people that work there are either white or Asian or some type of minority. They're not directly American. Sometimes they take a lot of minorities take up a lot of space when it comes to doing that. Like when you go to Rutgers, most of these Asian kids that go there study business. They study some type of IT or some type of web design. They're all in the technical field. So it's like these people that come in to essentially make your companies and make your places look better, for you to sit here and say, oh, we shouldn't be focused on their problems. We should only be focused on our problems. Part of your problems is making the world better. Like, we've put ourselves in a position where we have to be the world police. So you can't now sit here and now say, when it comes to people now coming in and wanting to make their lives better, you can't now say, oh, I don't want to focus on those problems. It's like saying now somebody gets robbed, and as a result, you want to go to the police, you want to go to the police station to make yourself feel safe. But you go to the police station and says, oh, we don't want to deal with that. Like, it doesn't make sense. You get what I mean?
What do you mean by we put ourselves in a position to be the world police, in terms of just
Like,
putting ourselves in situations where we necessarily didn't belong, but we went there anyway just to make things whatever they were? Or
yeah, that, and just even how the whole concept of like world powers and world organizations have come together. The UN was established originally by the United States. World Trade Organization, World Economic Organization, all these world global things that we were a part of, we were the ones who started them. So it's like, you can't now sit here years ago when these same guys who were preaching very similar rhetorics about a lot of minority people, such as you, establish these world organizations for us to be the world leader to spread democracy. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying, we don't want to deal with that no more. For all that, then you shouldn't then, I mean, I get it, like, Trump is a different president, but it's like, you should have never started that shit in the first place at all. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you sound dumb saying that.
no, I agree when it comes to the point that we can't pick and choose when we want to be quote unquote savior, when we want to, like you said, police the rest of the countries. I feel like if we're gonna stick to one script and be like, we're the ones that's gonna oversee everything and make sure things run the way they're supposed to, people do what they're supposed to do, then, like I said, when it comes to this, we have to operate the same way. I mean, that's just how I feel. And I'm good.
I was gonna say the only thing that I agree on is that we do need to also take care of our shit here too, because there's a lot of homeless people all through the country, kids that don't have meals every day. I mean, the obvious shit that needs to be taken care of as well. And plus, like, I just think about it when you go through to a place like Kensington, you know, they call it fucking zombie land for a reason, you know, and it's a part of Philadelphia. There's no way that it should be as bad. Like, why is it as bad as it is? You know what I'm saying? Where are the powers that be there are supposed to be taking care of these communities? So I do agree in the sense that we do have to take care of American shit as well, too.
There's two problems with that, right?
It's just hard to, like, prioritize, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I mean, in terms of what you're saying, yeah, it is, but it's two things, right? One, it shouldn't be that hard to prioritize. It just really, this goes back to solving things like homelessness. It goes back to a local government type of thing. And the problem is that local governments put their money into police stations. They put their money into all other niche initiatives to make the town and city feel safe, but they're not doing anything to even create a standard of safety and comfortability for the residents. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything's based off the assumption that the majority of people are safe and feeling comfortable. They just want to make them more comfortable. That's why the whole defund the police thing is a problem. It's a local issue. And so going back to what you're saying is like, when these people don't allocate for that, say the city of Philadelphia wants to put $10 million into renovating and creating new homeless shelters, you know, with kitchen, bathroom, things of that nature. Hypothetically speaking, they can do that because they have the money. You know what I'm saying? They definitely have the money to do that. And so the problem is why they don't do it is now going back to even funnier story is that a lot of the people that we do complain about these things for happen to be Democrats. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just about everybody, the chief of police, the mayor, townspeople, all those people that make up the local government for Philadelphia are Democratic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're Democratic, but people in Philly are shooting themselves up every day. You know what I'm saying? On the street. Like, you guys say that you want to help the people, but there's still homeless people. Not everybody is doing well the way that they're supposed to. So it's like, what are you guys really doing? And it's like, if you really want to solve the problems, how do you really want to solve the problems? You know what I mean? It's like, you can't sit here and say, oh my gosh, Black Lives Matter. But then all of a sudden, everybody in the whole police station has riot suits. You get what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be like that, you know? But
And then on top of that, and then like when people do try to build different shelters, whatever it may be, for homeless people, I see plenty of articles where like the government or police, they come and knock them down for whatever reason. And I never understood that. Like if you're not going to do it, and the people that are your citizens of your city are willing to go out there and build different places, whether it's like the mini home camps that they have for like homeless people that they're doing in like different states, or just different shelters throughout the city, why do they send the police or people officials to go knock that stuff down?
probably because that stuff isn't regulated the way that they would want it to be, one, and two, it's probably in certain areas where people feel uncomfortable. It's like if I'm in Mickle, like if I'm in my town now, I build a homeless shelter across the street from my house. Just because of the town, just because of the area that I live in, people are gonna call the police, and they'll be like, I'm uncomfortable. Like there's homeless people walking around. Like people are
100%.
people when people see homeless people, they assume that homeless people are doing no good, but that's never really the
Facts.
case.
It's
Like
not the
most of
case.
those people are there trying to survive the next day or survive for the next couple of days, depending on what their situation is. But it's like we look at them as if they're lesser than us, but it's like, and this goes to a bigger picture of just like they're not. They're trying to survive just like you are. The only difference is that they may not have made the right choices in one particular time, or just some things happen to them where it's
That's
just
that's what I was
shit
about
just
to.
happen.
That's what I was about to say. Is not even when it comes down to being homeless, bro. That I've started to realize too as I gotten older. One, like with just the title homeless has a bad connotation because people automatically assume you're on some type of drug or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, I feel as though the majority of Americans are one bad thing happening, or one thing bad happening to them away from them being homeless. Whether it be
Mm-hmm.
they have an unexpected medical bill that they can't pay for and they get everything taken from them, or they have something that comes up where they can't pay for it, or their house burns down, or whatever it may be, and then they're out on the streets. And they may not have the funding to go straight back to living the way they were before, so they're forced to be on the street, whatever it may be. And it's like I feel like if us as citizens and help as humans in general just get that negative connotation of homelessness out of our brain, and like Toby said, realize they're people trying to survive and just work their way up like the rest of us, they're just in a worse predicament, I feel like things would change. But in the same light, I don't feel as though people are so worried about that changing anyway.
Right. And I think, a lot of times everybody just needs an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? You get in a bad way. Sometimes you need an opportunity. And whenever like I think about like homelessness and poverty and like kids that are starving in the streets that don't have food every day, I think about a quote Tupac said, and he was like, "There's no reason people should be hitting the lotteries for $500 million when we got people out living on the streets, strung out and starving." You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell are we doing? What are we actually doing? You know what I
Not
mean?
that's a
That's
fact.
that is a big fact. Like I remember when I was working for the state, I used to handle most of the constituent calls and all the constituent cases. There was a case where there was a lady and she was going to be homeless. She was staying in this house with her husband, and her husband was paying it like it was like a government subsidized house or whatever. I forgot the whole situation. In short, yeah, her husband died.
Mm.
He got sick and he died, and she didn't want to leave the house, not because of the fact of like she couldn't, but she had nowhere to go. So we're trying to call housing and trying to help her out and trying to get the situation, and it's like they can't really do nothing either. It's like, well, she's just gonna have to be homeless, and it's just like it shouldn't be the case. Like me and my coworker at the time, like I'm like, yo, it genuinely like irritated us. Like I left work irritated because it's like this woman, it's not the fact she's staying there because she's being difficult. You guys are making it seem like she's being difficult, but it's like she ain't have nowhere to go. She has no money, she ain't have a degree, she has a kid and her dog. So where's she supposed to go? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it just irritated me because it's like it goes back to what you said, Shane. Like, what are we really doing? Like, do we really like? It goes back to my big picture. Do we really care? You know what I mean? It's like, do people really care? Do the police officers care? Do the people that live comfortably care? No, people just assume, like you said, Miles. Oh, they're not working hard enough, or it's because you didn't go to school, or you didn't do this. And it's like, even if that was the case, like you shouldn't feel like you have to live on the street. You know what I'm saying? I say this about people in different countries as well. Like just even in Europe, even in China, even in Africa, these people shouldn't feel like they have to sleep on dirt roads or feel like they have to sleep in uncanny situations or unlivable situations. It shouldn't be. We have the money to fix it, but capitalism essentially has fucked up the world.
And that's what frustrates me the most when it goes back to the original discussion of the topic, them saying that we got to worry about the stuff at home first, but we're not even worried about that. So I hate when they use that as an excuse. That means I hate when they use that excuse. And that takes me to my next point. We were talking about in the chat, the Black Lives Matter. They announced what did they announce, Toby? How much money they made this past year?
Yeah, they made $90 billion and 20 million of it was spent. Nobody knows where the rest of the money went.
And that brings me back to my point. Organizations, because we talked about organizations that are put in place to help certain situations, whether it's homeless, whether it's helping people that are not dealt with the right way, whatever it may be, for racial barriers, gender barriers, whatever it may be. And you have companies like the Black Lives Matter who people pour money into. You said 90 million and they only spent 20 million of it. And I think they said the affiliates didn't see any of the money, like the smaller Black Lives Matter organizations across the country didn't see any, not one penny of it. So it's like,
how people have such a problem with it, bro.
If you have stuff like that going on, how do you expect people like just general population? If you can't trust your government, then you can't trust organizations that are created to help you when the government doesn't help you, then where does that leave the people as a whole?
I think it goes into a lot of why we was just saying about the last topic, why people don't care. Why should they? How can they, right? You pouring all this money into this organization, $20 million was spent, and you don't know where the rest of it goes. Obviously, we know where the rest of it goes. People at the top of that shit pocketed that and did Lord knows what with it. But it's like, what the fuck? And it makes it hard to sit there and defend the Black Lives Matter. And this is why when you bring it up in conversations, people automatically shoot it down. You know, that terrorist group that people call it, whatever the case may be. You know, it's all bullshit. You know, we say Black Lives Matter. We don't necessarily mean we're affiliated with the organization. We're just saying Black Lives Matter because when you see shit like this, how can you want to be affiliated with something like that?
You can't necessarily. Like, I think it's just frustrating, bro, because
it is frustrating.
Just because it started off as a cause that was obviously to help us move along in our livelihoods and stuff like that, and then for numbers to come out and you see that it's not going to what it's supposed to go to.
Sorry, finish your point.
No, go ahead. I was finished my point.
No, I was going to say it's going to the TV deals. It's going to them going on vacations. It's them going to doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And like, that's what irritates me because I didn't want to go off the way I wanted to go off the last time when we heard about the TV deal, because I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's in a height of global time. Maybe they might have changed. You know, maybe they might be having growing pains in terms of trying to figure out allocation for the money. But now it just doesn't sit right with me because it's been months now. And we haven't heard any of the smaller affiliate organizations haven't heard anything about the money, about, you know, getting an accountant, distribution, things of that nature, how they plan to work with the communities to essentially help African Americans. They could have given us a stimulus check. They could have. But they don't. You know what I'm saying? And now looking at it, it's like it pisses me the fuck off because it's like, one, you guys sat here for months and years, essentially created the divide amongst the Black community. And now all of a sudden we all gave you your money and we entrusted you with our money, and now 20 million is spent and you guys haven't spent any of it since. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months.
Did they detail what they spent it on?
No.
You just, I think about how much they don't give a fuck. Putting this shit out there and knowing motherfuckers ain't gonna be happy about it. They don't give a fuck. Whatever. Put it out. Who cares? Because there's still gonna be people that pour money into that regardless.
And it's funny because looking at this organization, it was started by Black women. And it's like we've made so much emphasis on how we want to protect Black women, how, you know, Black women need to feel like this, how
put
Black
the disclaimer out there first, please.
There's no need for no disclaimer no more, bro. There's no more damn disclaimers, bro. You had 3-4 Black women make this whole organization, and they took $90 million, and nothing has been said about what's been done about it. But best believe they'll sit here and talk about everything else. Hey, Joe Biden, we want a seat at the table. Hey, Joe Biden, we want this. Hey, if you don't vote, you're not Black, you're not this, right? And it's like, we're looking at y'all, but we're not really saying nothing about it. Think about it like this. if Martin Luther King started an organization and they were giving him bread and he pocketed the money, the way that they just talk about the alleged cheating that he did, do you know how crazy they would come from now in 2021? Just think about it.
I can agree with
Just
that.
think about it like that. And it's like, I'm not trying to sit here and say all Black women are the problem. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is there's a group of Black women that essentially started this organization and movement, and nothing really has been done except they got a TV deal, which goes back to my whole point of Black people wanting to profit off of our own trauma. And now look, they just gonna take the money and gonna sit here and try to tap dance to talk to Joe Biden. For
Their
what?
TV deal is going to bring them a lot of bread.
It'll bring them
Exactly.
definitely gonna bring a lot of bread. And then on top of that, you were talking about bringing a seat at the table. Why do you need a seat at the table with all that bread? You have your own fucking table. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That you can bring who you want in to make a difference and make a change. But that hasn't been done yet. And it's just like, why?
It's not gonna be done anytime soon. Like, because my thing is that I'll put it like this. If you really cared, for me, I would put it like this. If I really cared, I would have partnered with Diddy. I would have broke him off something right here. This is what we want to do. Cool. We want to have a Black Lives Matter channel on Revolt TV where we talk about news. We talk about news. We talk about current events in the Black community, things of that nature, right? We have our own channel for Revolt TV, right? Or Hove, or we have a special channel Untitled. And then part of that other money, we're also going to go and talk to local. We're going to give money to our local Black Lives Matter organizations, and so we could build homeless shelters for African Americans, or we could build it for minorities or for trans people who may be out and they need homing assistance. Like these were the things that I would expect to hear, especially Black Lives Matter starting in like 2012. I'm lying. It was 2015 after Ferguson. After the situation in Ferguson, it's been 6 years. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that we've been hearing is Black Lives Matter, which we understand. But it's like, as an organization, how are y'all moving forward? Y'all just made $90 million. $90 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we know nothing of what's going on.
And another thing,
it's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. And I want to ask you, both of y'all this. One from Shannon, from like, because you're not so much into politics, from an outside perspective, and then Toby from a perspective of somebody like who's in that path. How do you regulate an organization like that when it comes to their money and how they allocate it or how they spend it or send it out? Like, as someone who, I'll give my opinion first. I feel as though, I'm just confused on how you have checks and balances when it comes to them, because you expect certain things from organizations like that. And I'm not even going to put it just on Black Lives Matter. When you see, like, I'll even go to like the churches like we have in the past, they'll get a certain amount of money that's supposed to go to their fellowship that won't go to it, whatever it may be. And we see that time in and time out with big organizations who come in as like these godlike organizations that are going to save everybody, whatever it may be. But in the long haul, they don't do that.
It's all up to them, bro. There's nobody to hold them accountable for that. Because at the end of the day, we could sit here and say and hoot and holler and say whatever we want to say what's up with this. You only spent 20 million, but at the end of the day, they gotta want to be willing to help people themselves, bro. When it comes down to it, they the ones that got to be willing to spend that money on what it's supposed to go towards. And when you don't have nobody to hold these organizations accountable, what do you expect to do? You know what I'm saying? It's a shame. It's a shame. And the same thing goes like for you said with churches and shit, because we all know how corrupt that kind of stuff can be. And it's sad because that's like using religion. This is like using the trauma of Black people around this country from what we've been seeing, from people getting killed by police, the riots, the social injustice that we face in this country. And it's like people have so much faith in this organization more than anyone that I've seen recently, I think by far. And to see how it's all like playing out, it's a shame.
Nah, you right. It is a shame. Like for me, I would have expected now that you would have at least gotten publicly audited, some type of public auditing, and you would have released those documents to the public. You would have transparency. You know what I mean? You would have talked to local organizations about what you needed to do and plans, and have a monthly report or a quarter monthly newsletter in terms of just saying this is how we're planning to move with the money. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't wait until 2021 after all the protests have happened after you guys tried to sit here and kiss ass to the Democratic Party to now sit here and tell us now that, oh yeah, we made $90 million. Like, that shouldn't have been the case. You should have had an accountant by now. You know what I'm saying? You should have had like an actual legal team and an HR department to help you organize the money that you just got, because it just doesn't make sense. $90 million made, $20 million is spent. We really don't have a general account of how this money or where this money is going. It's trash.
Like you said, it's been 6 years, right? So how have y'all not had a plan? A 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, a 1-month plan? You know, how are you guys planning to do everything you said you do? So it's like at the top, what the fuck are y'all doing? Clearly, there's no plan. It's like y'all made all this money and then y'all pocketed it and went on vacations and shit at the expense of the trauma of people that look like you in your own country. You know, shame on you.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And the next thing I was gonna say is, because Toby brought the point about like sucking up to the Democratic Party. Do you think it's probably not far-fetched at all that I'm about to say this, but do you think that that's occurred and they pushed that agenda side with the Democratic Party because they're maybe the ones that fund the Black Lives Matter?
Say that question again, I'm sorry.
So you brought up the point about people in the Black Lives Matter organizations at the top, right? Sucking up to the Democratic Party to get a seat at the table. Do you think that they push that narrative and agenda because people in the Democratic Party that have high influence and power are ones funding the Black Lives Matter organization?
Hold that thought real quick. Sorry. You go first, Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to appeal to whoever's going to get him the bread. You know what I'm saying? That's like the obvious thing, you know. And I, again, like, we've been talking about the situation with them for a long time, and these are the same problems we've said that we've been having with them from the very beginning. You know what I mean? And nothing's changed. You know, I go back to think of 6 years, you have no plan. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And the fact that you don't do nothing to change it, you don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck.
I agree. And like I said, like the question I asked is like, when it comes to Democratic Party, I think that's part of that agenda. They put an organization in the forefront, whatever it may be, and the more you see people, I feel that look like you supporting a certain side or the other, I feel like you're obviously gonna be more influenced to do so as well.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on that, Moose, when it comes to the whole agenda of the parties, plus the organizations that are supporting the parties and all that stuff?
I don't want to say the Democrats are putting it at the forefront, because if that was I don't want to say that, but I do want to say that they are doing, they're at least acknowledging Black Lives Matter, because it's been such a movement for a long period of time, and it's had the most consistent noise. So I don't want to say that Democrats are putting it at the forefront, because if that was yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying the forefront. I was saying maybe they have people that are funding the organizations to help push their narrative when the elections come around. I'm saying.
No, I don't think that I don't think that they actually put money into the Black Lives Matter organization. I don't think they did, because if that was the case, if that was really the case, I think they would have had a meeting beforehand, but they didn't.
About what?
Just meeting about what they would want or what their expectations are, or like how should the Black community move, for example, or what are the major needs of the Black community. And from my knowledge, they didn't get that.
Do you really think they would have meetings? Like, I don't know if they would even have meetings.
Yes.
I feel as though, if someone's willing to, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen just in past history, someone's willing to cut you a check or whatever to push a certain agenda, they're gonna do it. Even like we see it with Trump and the people that stood next to him, whether it was a rapper or whatever it may be. I'm pretty sure they got cut a check to say, all right, I'm supporting such and such to sway one person's influence over the next.
But then it all comes down to that bottom line. I think that's what it comes down to with any organization. That's what it comes down to, is that bottom line.
You're right. It comes down to the bottom line, but this is where I'm looking into it. If the DNC really was funding Black Lives Matter and they were cutting them a check, then I don't think Joe would have been in office.
Why
I don't. Because the Black Lives Matter party would, if anything, I would think that more African Americans would support Bernie than they would Joe Biden to become president.
But I'm saying though, that may be right in that aspect. There's more people supporting Bernie over Biden, but does Bernie still have that same is his pockets as deep as the people that are supporting Biden?
But it's not about. But that's the thing, though. But that's where. But that's where my question. It's not Bernie or Biden cutting them a check. My thing is that if Black Lives Matter was getting a check from DNC, we would really, really know that. We were just told to vote.
I don't know. I don't know if we really, really know that, to be honest. That's
Because my thing is, put it like this: the NRA, does the NRA not cut? Do they cut politicians a check?
of course.
Of course, they cut politicians a check. Why do you think that gun laws are the way that they are in the Republican Party? They believe in that because the NRA is one of the biggest funders of the Republican National Committee. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't think Black Lives Matter is one of the biggest funders of the DNC. So they're probably not.
I get
I
that.
get, I get that, but
They're probably not going to have that say the same way like an NRA would. You know what I mean?
I get that. I get what you're saying, but I feel as though they might not have, in terms of like they not be the biggest funders of the DNC, but I feel as they have a very big influence over the people that support their party, though.
But are those people that support their party really going to affect the money that they make in the long run? Think about it. Most African,
it's more so about the money they make in the long run. More so it's about putting a person in a seat when it comes to election time.
But what you have to understand about politicians is that politicians also have their own personal agendas that they have to do for their state. So my thing is that in most cases, most of these African Americans, they're not going to think about that because the white man that they're trying to do business with is probably like a CEO of some think tank or some super PAC that they're trying to get money from. So that's how they can have some support in their state or have some type of pull in their state. Most of the African Americans that I would assume that we're trying to think about, we're thinking about the little people. And I don't think that when it comes to certain things, the politicians are not concerned as much about the little people compared to, say, I'm worried about the Wall Street or the big organizational people or the nonprofits that are, supporting us in the back.
I think just based on the way you explained your answer, I think you twisted what who I said was funding who, because you said that you think that I said that Black Lives Matter is funding the DNC. I'm saying the reverse.
I still don't think that, because if that was the case, why make Kamala Harris the vice president then?
What? Because who's going to support her the most?
But you could have had Stacey Abrams. You could have had blah, 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 blah,
that just comes down. I feel like then that just comes down to preference in the people that are in that power, who they think can actually beat the person that's on the other side in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, but my thing is that if they were cutting them a check, I just don't see them saying we're choosing Kamala Harris, because it did like I would like to say that most of us as a community did not like Kamala Harris. We didn't trust her. So why would we now sit here and now run towards it and say the only reason why that happened was because Black Lives Matter was paid by the DMC to push for Kamala Harris? It doesn't make sense to me.
I know obviously it's not just that sole thing, but I'm thinking it still plays a part, in my opinion. And then to go back to your point, because we can go on this tangent for a long time, but then to go back on your point, why they picked her, I feel as though she had a bigger presence at that time than Stacey Abrams, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just using her as an example. Like, my thing is, if you're really trying to sit here and pick somebody that everybody would like, you didn't have to pick Kamala Harris. You could have picked Elizabeth Warren. You could have picked a lot of different people. You know what I mean? Because like that's where the biggest problem is. That's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't seem like they just said, yeah, we're going to sit here and pay Black Lives Matter, because if that was the case, Bernie would have a seat. Elizabeth Warren might have a seat in his cabinet, and some other people as well. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't seem like it makes sense, especially because, and lastly, as my last point, they wrote a letter to Joe Biden saying that they wanted a meeting with him. So it's like, it wouldn't make sense that like that happened and you were paid, and now all of a sudden you're asking for a meeting.
Maybe that's what a promise. This is all hypothetical, obviously. Maybe that was something that they were promised that they haven't got yet. So they're saying we still need that meeting. But I don't know. That's a conversation for another day. But before we get to our next stuff, let's get into the Faces of the Future song of the day, presented by MBT. Check us out on all social platforms on Instagram, MBT_the1%, on Twitter, MBT the Future, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, MBT Faces of the Future, for all our video content. The Faces of the Future song of the day comes from an artist out of Los Angeles. His name's Joseph Nevels. R&B vibes. Like I said, I've been on R&B vibes for a minute now. It's a nice soulful song. It's actually called In My Soul. And once again, this is Joseph Nevels, In My Soul. Once again, that was Joseph Nevels, In My Soul. He has a project actually coming out, an EP, his newest EP coming out this Friday, March 5th. So check it out. Solid R&B artist, and got one of them feels to his voices. So let's jump into Andrew Cuomo and what's been going on with him. And he's been in the hot seat. So news broke about him lying about the number of death tolls in the nursing homes when it came to COVID-19 and limited hospital beds. He said that didn't really happen. And I just want to see what your guys' thoughts are on that first before we dive into what else happened with the sexual harassment. So,
I mean, I think COVID, this whole situation has exposed a lot of people. You got to be telling the truth about the numbers of what people dying because of the skepticism that people have in this country about COVID, especially in a place like New York where, we all remember the footage of the hospitals and what shit was looking like around there is crazy to see. And he was kind of looked at as like someone that was doing, by some people would say, an exceptional job at handling what was going on in New York because of how many people New York has. I mean,
no, that's a fact. And he was even put into a position where people thought he was going to be the next president, wasn't it? Toby, like they were saying, oh, he's going to go on, not the next president, but he's going to go on. He's going to have potential opportunity to make a run in the future.
Right.
Because he was doing such a good job. People liked him. Like they saw what he was trying to do. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm pretty sure a lot of other countries have hidden their COVID numbers as well. There's a lot of people that hide their COVID cases. So it's like, I'm not surprised about any of that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying it's not wrong. Like it's still wrong. But the reality is that, like, I think most people are trying to hide their COVID cases because they don't want people to go, oh my gosh, this country's this or this country's that. Probably because of economic reasons or whatever the case may be. But I mean, with Cuomo, in terms of that, it's like, it was just always funny to me because one of the things that were always going around was the nursing homes and stuff like that. And people were trying to make emphasis on nursing homes, but people weren't really paying attention to nursing homes. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even just in New York. Like I felt like it was all over the country where it's
that was like a big thing everywhere.
Yeah. Like it was like, yo, like people are not paying attention to the nursing homes. And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it felt off. You know what I mean? It was like, the talk around it kind of just seemed real delicate and nobody really wanted to touch it. They're like, yeah, there's dead people in homeless shelters, but like nobody really talked about it, and that's just really how it is. Sorry, real quick. Another story I had a friend who's in medical school. And this is what I mean, where I say like people have been acting weird. He was on his way to class. He was on his way to school for a meeting. And he just randomly saw like construction, across from the hospital. Him being that type of person, he was just naturally like inquisitive. Like he went over and he asked, saw the police. There's like military people there. He's like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, you can't be here. Like you need to leave now. Like you need to leave the premises now." And he's looking. Come to find out, they building a morgue. And this is up in Jersey. It's like they're building a morgue for people, and it's just like, "Oh, we can't tell you what's going on." And it's like, why is it that like the bigger question about it is why is people, even not even just Cuomo, just politicians and people all over the country just being so secretive about COVID. You know what I mean? And just being secretive about what's going on. Like, it's weird.
Do you guys think they're being that way because they don't want people to be as scared, or do you think that they don't want people to realize it's not what it is, what they made it out to be?
I mean, it's kind of hard to know which one to think, because I feel like in the media I haven't really heard much about COVID recently. There's not. I mean, but I think of it like Is it because this is the society we live in these days, and it's kind of the new normal? It's kind of just an everyday thing, or is it simply because they're hiding something? You hate to think that like they're hiding something, but when I think about all this as a whole, right? When you talk about like Cuomo hiding stuff from COVID, the government hiding shit from COVID, or whatever the case may be, it's like, how can the powers that be, the ones that make all the decisions in this country, not give a fuck, but expect people to give a fuck about anything? You know what I'm saying? Like your mindset goes to like, if the governor of my state doesn't give a fuck about anything, and is out here having sexual harassment charges, how can he hold me accountable for anything that I do? Period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because with all that piling down, like obviously the additional is the sexual harassment charges as well. But when you have a person, because last episode we were talking about Ted Cruz and how he didn't really care about his people, whatever it may be, and then you come to the other side and you have a Democrat who's been talked about in the media a lot as someone who's supposed to be for his people, and now you come out to see that he's really on some shady shit, whatever it may be.
Yep.
How can your people or your citizens trust the people's in power? Not that
Exactly.
they did anyway, but how can that be? How can you as a citizen say, all right, now when it's time for them to pass the vaccine and be like, all right, this is what you guys need to do, whatever it may be, so you get back to normal life? How do you expect them to be
Trustworthy.
okay? Trustworthy of it? Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Trustworthy of that.
That's the biggest problem. It's like, I don't think the politicians really care the way that we think that they do, or we want them to. It's just interesting because it's like, when it comes to COVID, it goes back to the thing of what of my personal philosophies about media. It's like, people want to control the narrative, and people don't want people to be scared of COVID. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want us to be scared, but they want us to, make sure we stay home and do all these different things. The reality is that you can't have both at this point in time. Like, if you don't want us to be scared, tell us it's safe to go outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want us to be scared, like, explain to us, this is what happens with COVID. This is what we found out. You can go to school. Like, you can't sit here and say, everybody stay home. X amount of people are dying. But then, like, you're now telling us that you have a low risk of getting COVID in school. Teachers to go back to school, or we need to open up things bit by bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't walk on the fence. Like, if you want to solve this, tell everybody stay their asses home. We're going to work out a delivery service through the state for food, things of that nature. Everybody gets a paycheck up until this is over. If not, then just be like, you know what, yo, do what you want to do until the vaccine come out. Like, it's one or the other.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
It's the way that the media is handling it is bad, weird. And that's why it's just like, it's like, you want us to be scared, but now you're telling us kids should go back to school. So there's a low risk of COVID now all of a sudden with kids, but that was the concern originally, but now it's not, and teachers will be okay. And it's like, there's so many different moving parts that, like, if you're not really paying attention the way that you should, you're just like, oh, okay. But it's like, it's weird. It's real weird.
Yeah, it's weird, and I'll take it from like a standpoint of like us here in the Northeast and the people in the South, right? Because Georgia and Florida don't have mask mandates. Up here, you can't go into any establishment without a mask. Period. When we was on lockdown here, we was on lockdown. We was in the house, but the South was still open fully. There's no mask mandate or nothing. There are signs outside of establishments that more or less say, you're running the risk of getting COVID-19 if you come in here. You can't hold us liable for it. So once you step into these doors, you run the risk of getting COVID. We're not liable for it. But up here, you can't go into Wawa without a mask on. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird how it's different amongst the states, when I feel like the government should have more control of it if they really know what's going on.
I think
how can some states be open and some states be closed? You know what I mean?
And this is where the biggest problem is with me. It's like, we're making the country's health, we're making it we're politicizing it too much.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem. It's like, hey, like, it's a state issue of whether or not people should wear a mask, but people are dying, people are at risk, so we're still going to leave it to states. And this is the thing that I've been talking to my dad about, where it's like, the biggest problem with people is that people don't want to feel like they're being controlled by the government. But it's like, it's not about you being controlled. We're trying to help your ass. Like, we've lost half a million people to COVID already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you really think that us telling you to stay home, us telling you to wear a mask is controlling you rather than trying to save your ass, then for all means, like, continue to think that. But it's just childish, in my opinion, to have that thought process, because it's just like, you can't assume that because they're controlling you with COVID or controlling you how you want to move with COVID now and what the restrictions are, that they're going to do that with everything else. It doesn't work like that. Like, when it comes to certain things, your health is way more different than how we're going to teach you how to spend your money or tell you where you can and can't go. So
Now,
I
facts.
don't know.
Now, facts, and I feel as though transparency is the biggest thing and the biggest factor when it comes to all of this, and we see it's able to be done when you look at Israel and how they basically initiated the COVID-19 vaccine passes, where you're only allowed to go into establishments if you have the vaccine. They made it like a mandate that everybody has to have those.
Right.
So, how soon do you think something like that is going to be maybe come to America? I guess because we're all in America. So how soon do you think like a mandate like that may come to our country?
I think it's only a matter of time, for I think Israel is a good example of a way to look at it, because, Israel is only the size of New Jersey. Half of their people are already vaccinated, right? Now, there are groups, like religious groups in Israel, that will not get the vaccine no matter what. But it's not just the COVID vaccine. It's they don't get any sort of vaccines. They just don't believe in them, period. You know what I mean? So, as far as it coming here, I think it's only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Israel already has like facial recognition technology to be able to tell if you can go into like an establishment or not. There's rumors out there is going to be on our passports for international travel, and that'll be like a worldwide thing. So I think it's only a matter of time. And when I think if it does come down to that, I think it's going to be madness, because, like Toby just got done saying, people don't want to be controlled or be told what to do and feel like they have to get a vaccine in order to be able to go to anywhere. Essentially, it's going to be anywhere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think as vaccines become more available, eventually the plan is for everybody to be vaccinated eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in America. So I think it'll be only a matter of time until those mandates are put in place.
I think I don't. So how I'm thinking about it is this: like, I think that it may end up happening, but also just because I think of how things are now, I don't think that it's going to be this big thing. The US is already making people that travel in and out the country to take a COVID test before you come in, or you can't come back in. And so I think that certain people will be okay with that for right now. I do think that the COVID, actually, no, I lie. I think the COVID passes will be a thing, because I was talking to my girlfriend about it. I was telling her that, like, I think after a certain point, it's just going to be one of those things where, like, people are just going to try to make money off these COVID tests. Whereas, like, if you travel to Mexico, you're going to have to pay $300, $400 for a COVID test. Nobody want to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's like an extra $1,200 out your pocket a year if you travel 3, 4 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
So for people, it may just be an easier case for you to just say, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go and take the vaccine and call it a day, or I'm just going to stay my ass home. And then if I want to go, I have the passport. So like right now, because like COVID tests are still like up in the air, people don't know how to use it. Like, people don't have like the most efficient way of calculating it. I think that for right now, it's okay, because a lot of places, depending on where you go, can still be free. But I think that as everything gets handled in terms of what we know about the coronavirus, how we deal with the coronavirus, things of that nature, they're going to have to pay hella money for it. And then at that point, it's going to be, do you want to pay for it? Or do you just want to take the vaccine and call it a day? So
Let me ask you guys this. So when it comes to that, say they do mandate it where everybody has to have the vaccine, you have to have the COVID pass or whatever it may be to do the things you want to do on a normal basis. Are you guys okay with, I guess, the parts of the country or the parts of the world where I guess their beliefs don't align with that, and them just being dried out and not be able to operate like they normally do because their beliefs don't align with them taking whatever medicine it is or whatever it may be?
Mm-hmm. I think it's in the end, it's on them. You know, if it's going to suck. That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be a problem because if you're going to mandate something that people, by their religion don't want to take, it goes against everything that they believe in. But you're going to tell them that they can't go into a certain place. That's going to cause chaos. People are not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, in a hypothetical, if they were to mandate that vaccine, I don't see that. I don't see that lasting long at all. Because it's like, even for me, I remember my boss, just the way that they were talking about just simple vaccinations and mandatory vaccinations for chickenpox, for flu, just even school shots. Like people are up in arms about it just because of, for people who don't know, the idea about vaccines is that depending on the vaccine, they use cells from aborted fetuses, and they put those into vaccines, and those are part of the reasons why cells are injected into you, things of that nature. And since people are against abortion, people are against the killing of obviously children, they believe that now you doing that is indirectly supporting abortion. So it's a little bit tricky to sit here and mandate that. If that was the case, I think a lot of people would end up being asked out. If it was if the hypothetical would be true, but I don't see them mandating vaccines just because of that, because some people really just don't want to take the vaccine for whatever reason that they have.
If they do, you think more people will take it? Like, let's say, like in Israel, for example, you can't go into a gym without having it. Both of y'all go to the gym every day. They tell y'all here, y'all can't come into the gym, any gym, without getting vaccinated. What y'all gonna do?
I think
That's fine by me.
I think
Huh?
I think it's gonna force more people to do so. I think more people, even if they don't want to take it, they're gonna do it, like you said, because it's gonna limit a lot of stuff they do on a normal basis. Like not even just like you said, the gym in general. Yeah, it may seem like a little thing, but a lot of people that's part of their daily routine. But if you get on the grander scale, what if a grocery store says you can't go into the grocery store and go get food? But in the same light, though, we have other options where you don't have to go into the grocery store because nowadays there's technology where people can just deliver it to you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Right.
like there's viable options. I feel like it will increase the amount of people that go and take it that may not have done before. But also, I feel like there's going to be, just as humans in general, we're going to find alternatives to make a solution.
Yeah, the vaccines are coming. The vaccines are definitely coming.
Yeah, Johnson and Johnson just got their single shot vaccines approved, so
Yeah.
it's definitely here. Maybe actually, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe they might mandate it for school children, or they might make it mandatory for like hospitals or certain places where you're dealing with people who are high risk. But do I think it'll be mandatory for everybody past a certain point? Nah, I think at most it'll probably end up being mandatory for schools, hospitals, and healthcare centers.
Yeah. So
I think sports too. I think athletes are gonna have to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be interested to see how many people are going to be getting it once they become more readily available to people. So now to get a vaccine, you have to be a healthcare worker, or you have to
Yeah.
be an older person. I think that they starting age of 75 and up, or you have to have some sort of pre-existing condition. Now, that list of pre-existing conditions is a lot of things. It could be simple as high blood pressure, diabetes,
Asthma.
asthma, anxiety. So, I mean, I feel like everybody in one way, shape, or form is dealing with something. So, I think the more vaccines become available, but the more people are going to start taking them. It took me a long time to get my COVID shot, my COVID vaccine when it became available. I had to go online and you have to do this little application, and I had to do it 4 times because every time I went to do it, the first 3, when I got to the end, hit submit, it was already taken by somebody else.
And that's another thing before we wrap this segment up, is how available it's going to be if they mandate it. Because if they make a mandate, right, and then you sit in weeks, maybe even months to be able to even get the shot, and you're just sitting there, you're not able to do anything because they made a mandate. How are they gonna regulate that format, or what's the formula, the process going to be to distribute it to people?
Yeah, I don't know. I know
I
they're gonna
mean,
start pumping them Jones out though more and more, especially with the more research that they get as to the new strands that are coming out, and also once they see how this first wave of people that got the vaccine or how their bodies react to it, I think it'll just keep pumping them out.
Nah, you're right, but I think what'll end up happening as well is that people like Johnson & Johnson who have single vaccine usage, those are going to be sent to the first responders, the grocery workers, the grocery store workers, the people that work in healthcare, people that work with things involving a lot of people. I think regular people who don't have those types of jobs where you don't have to be in contact with people for very long periods of time, we're going to end up having to do the 2 vaccine thing. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see.
So speaking of people controlling people controlling like what you can say in politics, what you can do, just controlling in general. There's been a big thing in the sports world going on. You guys are more well versed in these athletes in the soccer world
You
than
talking
I
about
am.
Zlatan?
Yeah, man. Tell me what's been
Zlatan
going on with
Ibrahimovic.
him and Bron.
So Zlatan Ibrahimovic is one of the most iconic soccer players of all time.
I
Right?
love Zlatan.
They literally, like, scientists literally, like I've told him, when he dies, they want his body for examination. He's like that much of a physical specimen, right? So he came out and he had a quote. Give me 1 second. He said he was talking about like activism and athletes, and he got on the topic of talking about LeBron James. He went on to say, LeBron is phenomenal at what he does, but I don't like when people have some kind of status and they go and do politics at the same time. Do what you're good at. Do the category you do. I'm a football player, and that's what I do, pretty much. LeBron came back and said, I know what I do on the floor. I'm someone that has the ability to affect millions of people's lives. So why wouldn't I try to pass the information that I know forward? Because sometimes to reach certain people, you need somebody like a LeBron James for people to look at and maybe want to actually go and do some research about something. So people were killing Zlatan online.
As they should.
What he was saying, killing him.
I'm
killing
siding with
him
Bron,
online.
bro. I'm siding with Bron, bro, 100%. Like, bro, my thing is, if you got a platform and you trying to do more than just be an athlete, as you said, more than an athlete, that's what his brand is. By all means, do that. If you're able to shine a spotlight on stuff that's going on or help in the political aspect, educational aspect, or uplift the people in the way you know how, why not do it? Why just stick to just being an athlete where you can have way bigger impact on the world? That makes zero sense to me. And I don't even know how to pronounce the bull's name, but
Zlatan
Ibrahimovic.
Ebro, call him Ebro.
No disrespect, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but bro, some things just need to be left unbothered. Like,
yeah, there's people in our country that feel the same way, especially like LeBron. You got Laura Ingraham, that came out and said, "Shut up and dribble." You know what I'm saying? But you on Fox talking about politics every single day. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You using your platform. Why can't LeBron and players like him, players that are like the WNBA players, why can't they use their platform to speak out against social injustices? Because people are paying attention to it these days. And like I said, sometimes people don't watch the news. People don't watch Fox. People don't watch CNN. People watch LeBron James. So I think if you have the ability to make an impact on it and you want to, you should go for it. And if you don't like it, don't like it. But don't tell somebody not to do it and stick to their sport.
I mean, also you gotta think about it like this. Like also another problem that I don't think people are looking at it from is that like Zlatan don't know LeBron James. He don't know his upbringing.
facts.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic is from, I think he's from Sweden.
Mm-hmm,
and so it's like people that grow up in Sweden grow up from a completely different way from how Africans American in America grow up. You get what I'm saying? So it's like for him, he may not know the struggle that LeBron James had to go through. In fact, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And you have to also understand he's probably been playing since he was like 17. So he's been playing in the U17 league. He's been getting paid under 17. You came in, you played for 10, 20 years, and you've been getting paid since. You don't really know struggle like that. You know what I'm saying? In the US, there's no under 17 basketball league where you make your money. You get what I'm saying? So if you're struggling up until you go to college and play ball. And then there you're going to have a little bit more stability. So it's like, I get where people are coming from, where they're mad as Zlatan, but it's like, you can't really be mad at somebody that really don't know your struggle. You know what I'm saying?
But if you don't know the struggle, don't speak on it, in my opinion. If you don't know what you're talking about, why are you going? And I say that all the time. Like, yeah, you can give somebody a pass for being ignorant, but But when you have a platform like he has, he's that big of an athlete in the FIBA world. The FIFA world, excuse me, bro. Don't speak on it, because now
Yeah,
how many people follow him that's gonna be like, oh yeah, he's right. He's the athlete should just stick to doing that, whatever it may be, because his influence is probably even bigger over there.
and
Yeah, no,
Zlatan's one of them type of people that doesn't care about what he says and how it comes
yeah,
off, right? Because he'll always say, "I'm Zlatan. I'm one of the best soccer players of all time. I can say what I want." That's his mindset going into it already. So he don't give a fuck about what he's saying. People that hate on LeBron for his activism crack me up. They crack me up. This man literally started a school that's sending hundreds of kids to college for free, taking them off the streets, giving them food, giving them somewhere to be, giving them somewhere to be off the streets. And the people that hate him, your favorite person that you look up to hasn't done that.
it's not even. I think
You know what I
looking at
mean?
it from for the fans who don't know, like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he I forgot who they were playing when he was playing in the MLS. I forgot who they were playing. And some guy had said something to him, and at that point, he scored 4 goals that game by himself, and he was with his teammates or whatever, and he said something along the lines of like, "I'm a Ferrari, and you're just like a basic car," to his teammates. And this was to the media. So it's like he's not the type of person that really gives a shit about what people think. Like he really thinks that he's the greatest in the world, rightfully so,
Mm-hmm.
because he really is one of the greats. I'm not gonna sit here and deny that. But it's like for the type of person that he is, he's a very outspoken person that's gonna say whatever he wants. And like I said, it goes back to one of those things where it's like people just don't know how African Americans grow up in this country. Like people have a very, very weird point of view when it comes to African Americans in this country. And just even in all over the world. So it's like if somebody's gonna sit here and say something like that, this is not me condoning what he's saying, but also consider the fact that most of these people, one, don't know how we grow up,
Mhm.
and two, they don't. In some cases, they really may just not even care. You know what I mean? And if Zlatan were to grow up with LeBron and grew up how LeBron grew up, I think that he would have a lot more sympathy for what he's saying, or have a lot more. He'd be able to empathize with what he's saying more. So I mean, I get why people are upset, but he just doesn't
He don't
know.
get it because he don't come from that world. You don't see that
Yeah,
kind of stuff from Swedish players.
you've been getting.
I'm sure there is some, but I'm sure it's not on the level of a LeBron James.
Yeah, you've been getting looked at probably since you were like 13, 14 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you already knew you were gonna be in that type of realm. LeBron James aside, most of these people don't end up having that ability to go from you grew up playing basketball 18 years, you go straight to the league. You know what I'm saying? You got to go
Mm-hmm.
to college, and then that's when you really start to get some type of stability. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're not really thinking about food outside of the season, or outside of the semesters. You're not really thinking about whether or not you have a place to stay or things of that nature. Like you feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
Zlatan, just knowing Zlatan, it would be the same thing with Lionel Messi or Ronaldo. I wouldn't be surprised if they had similar sentiments because they've been playing soccer since they were like a child. They've been getting looked at since they were a child. You get paid to play soccer for the under 17 teams. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they already had money in their pocket. This doesn't happen for us. So it's like I'm not surprised that he says stuff like that. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
right. I'm just not surprised.
I think for us, we can all appreciate the athletes because that's what we're all into. We're all into sports that come out and are activists and philanthropists like a LeBron James. When you even think back to like the Jim Brown, Lou Alcindor, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, that iconic picture. These are men at the time that were putting not only their careers on the line, but putting their lives on the line,
Mm-hmm.
coming out and saying the things that they were saying. And I think it takes a special kind of person to do that. So when people
Yeah.
criticize LeBron James for his activism, I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're a hater. You have so much hate in your heart. You're just a hater. I don't understand how you can knock somebody that's trying to uplift a people to a man that's given a bunch of kids an opportunity of a lifetime that they wouldn't have without him. A chance at a better life, a chance to go to college for free, totally
Yeah.
free. You know what I mean? With otherwise, with that, they wouldn't be able to advance their lives. So I think it's laughable when people criticize LeBron James activism. Laughable.
No, I agree. I agree. Let's jump into our last segment. Um, so there's an article that went out by David Dennis Jr. And the title was "A Woman's Worth is Not Determined by Her Proximity to a Man." And basically, what the article was depicting was the wives, the widows of Nipsey Hussle and Kobe Bryant, and the statement that stood out the most that he put in there. It said, "Wives are only valued as the legacy of the men we dream we see them with." And basically what that article was referring to was recent lyrics from Meek Mill, talking about Kobe Bryant's wife. I mean, not Kobe Bryant's wife, but Kobe Bryant. And then it referred back to a year and a half ago when Nipsey Hussle passed, and Kodak Black, a video surfaced of him saying he's going to give Nipsey's widow, Lauren London, a year to cry, whatever, and he's going to be right there, right at her, whatever it may be. So that brings my question is, do people only defend these women because of their husbands, or do they actually feel sorry for their women, their wives?
Toby, go ahead. I know you got a lot to say.
This article is weird. He's right, but it's weird. Like, I get what he's trying to say, but where my problem comes in is I'm not trying to say that women are not valuable, but what you also have to understand is what are you also famous for, right? Like T.I., I think the article had referenced T.I. talking about Lauren London, and where my problem is with it is case by case, right? I respect Vanessa Bryant's right to grieve and mourn. I respect that. I don't have any problem with her saying what she said. I want to put that out for documentation purposes.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, for this one at least, because this is a different situation. But where my problem comes in now is, why are we making it seem like Vanessa Bryant was known for other things besides being Kobe Bryant's wife? And I don't mean that to be rude. I say that to say because, and this is why I said it's case by case. When you look at Lauren London was established already. She was in movies. She had an acting career. So it's a little bit different from referring her as Nipsey Hussle's wife. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Versus saying, okay, this is Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa Bryant. We didn't really hear from Vanessa Bryant like that until like after Kobe retired, and he put emphasis on his family. You get what I'm saying? And everything else that happened to him when he was younger. But Lauren London, we knew about Lauren London. So when I read the article where T.I. was saying something, I felt away because it's like, okay, you're invalidating this woman because of the fact of why you worked with her in a movie. Like, she's done things and you're making it seem like she hasn't. And I think that, like, I get what the article is saying, but I also think it's case by case. Because let's look at it like this. If Beyonce wasn't married to Jay-Z and she was married to some random guy, like some guy we don't know, he just works for a Fortune 500 company, we're going to refer to him as Beyonce's husband. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, it's like, if Beyonce were to die, God forbid, how would we refer to him? We would refer to him as Beyonce's husband. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it's tricky from case to case. This isn't me saying that's one of those things where it's 100% right, but it's like, when we look at the situation, if you know this person has done something, yeah, acknowledge that person as such. Acknowledge Lauren London that she's an actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, she worked on a bunch of cult classics. You know what I'm saying? Vanessa Bryant, on the other hand, Kobe was the one who provided the lifestyle for her. Kobe was the one that was their family. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that in a rude way to say Vanessa Bryant wasn't doing anything. But I'm saying this to say that, like, outside of Kobe Bryant, we didn't really hear from Vanessa Bryant. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me ask you this. So with that scene, go ahead. You had something to say, Sean? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Ask your question.
Because I was just gonna ask this to follow up what you were saying about just like the roles they played in the relationships. So do you think that, since you want to use the Beyonce scenario, we'll put Lauren London in that situation where she wasn't married to Nipsey Hussle, but she was married to somebody else, and her husband passed away, but she was still Lauren London. do you think if the Kodak statements came out about him giving her a year to grieve, whatever he's going to be right at, do you think people would still be coming at him as harshly?
No.
You saying if she wasn't Nipsey's man?
If she wasn't married to Nipsey Hussle, but she was married to someone else, but her husband still passed away, and the Kodak statements came out. Do you feel as though people will be reacting the same way and give Kodak such a hard time as they are because it's Nipsey Hussle's wife?
Oh, you ask. Well, go. I'll answer. I mean, I think that I don't think people will make a big deal of it if it was some regular dude at all. You know, I think because it was Nipsey, obviously, especially when it was like as fresh as it was, people got to be careful about what they say. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's going through something. How you gonna come out? Even if he was joking, you shouldn't say stuff like that, right? With these whole situations, I feel bad for these women because they'll always forever be attached to Nipsey Hussle and Kobe Bryant, right? I'm sure Vanessa Bryant is still grieving, I'm sure, for the loss of her husband and her daughter. I'm sure she doesn't want to have to come out and address things that Meek Mill is saying on the track.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's one of the last things she wants to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So I feel bad for them in that regard. And like with the Lauren London situation that came out with her, like saying that she was allegedly pregnant, and people started dragging her. People started dragging her online. So it's like, as a woman, right? You was married to this man. The vow say to a death do his part, right? So is Lauren London now never to move on with her life and find love? You know, I don't think Nipsey would want her not to go and be happy.
I feel as though that's a trash situation in general, obviously, not just because of the death, but like what comes after the death as well. Because like you said, with the people bashing her for even the hypothetical situation that wasn't true, obviously, of her being with somebody else, whatever it may be, they put like this burden on her that she's not allowed to
be happy, essentially.
Yeah, be happy. And probably the same thing with Vanessa Bryant when it comes down to like you're supposed to be attached to this person for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? And if we see you with anybody else, we're about to bash you because we're diehard fans of your husbands or whatever it may be. And I think that's where that statement came from, is that where the guy was saying that they only love them because of the people that they were with, whatever it may be. And in both scenarios that we explained here, I feel like that's the case. And that's not taking away from the women themselves, but you see the predicaments that they're put in based on who they were married to.
It's the same thing when you look at when Rihanna was dating that super rich Middle Eastern guy. The fact that I don't know his name is my point. Like, Rihanna's boyfriend. We never heard of this dude a day in our lives until they started dating. You get what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden it's, that's Rihanna's boyfriend. And mind you, this man has bread out the wazoo. And we refer to him as Rihanna's boyfriend. And it's like my next thing about it is like, I feel like as people in society, we always try to find ways to idolize people or immortalize people that we have a strong attachment to. Because we grew up with Kobe, because we grew up, a lot of us grew up with Nipsey. It was going to be weird trying to, live life without them. So it's like us having Vanessa, us having Lauren, we as a society kind of like, okay, this is all we have left of somebody that we had memories with. Or this is all we had left of Nipsey and his impact on the world. I'm not saying that this is what they needed to do, but this is what we as people normally do. We normally place emotion and attachment into something that could remind us of something that feels good. And I felt like that was more of the problem than rather saying that, okay, these women weren't doing anything and they referred to and they're only attached to legacies of their husband. I don't think that's more so the problem more than us throwing on the idea of trying to immortalize the people that we care about through those women. I think that's the bigger problem, because that's the reason why I got upset with the reaction to what Vanessa Bryant said to Meek Mill, because Meek Mill ended up becoming a villain. And for whatever reason, people are hating on him for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's like, I looked at him like, didn't Pooh Shiesty have a Kobe line? Yeah. Like, there are plenty of people that had Kobe lines. And it's not even about Vanessa, but it's the fact that people weren't saying anything about it until it was Meek Mill.
It's Meek. People don't like Meek.
people don't like Meek. People don't like Meek, but it's like, yeah, well, that's a different conversation for a different
Yeah,
time.
you know, people don't like him.
And I don't think he had any ill intentions with like his lyrics at all, to be honest. But yeah, the timing definitely wasn't right. And
No,
I mean
gotta
that's
be a little bit smarter with what you say.
I
That's
mean,
all.
like I said, he apologized for what he said. He, like I said, he didn't mean any ill intentions or malice or anything behind it. And obviously everybody knows Meek is a big Kobe fan and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on that, because I feel as though any woman or any man in that situation where they're almost have to put, because I feel as though those women, they have that burden of trying to people put that burden on them to carry that legacy, but I don't think they should
For
have,
sure.
Yeah,
because that's hard to carry on. You feel me? You're already dealing enough with grieving family and all that stuff, and then for people to just come at them like you're supposed to be doing what they were doing, it's like that's a rough position to be in. But before we close out, how y'all feel about Bobby Shmurda being home?
Shmurda. We'll see. We'll see what he can do music wise coming back. I know happy he's out. It was a long 7 years. People have been I was scrolling the timeline and see tweets every now and then, free Shmurda. You know what I mean? And glad to see him out.
Yeah, it's crazy because I ain't gonna lie, like obviously to him it's 7 years went by fast, but to me it's like that 7 years went by, it didn't go by fast, but it's like, dang, that joint's over already.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I seen though, since his release, and it kind of like, it doesn't worry me, but it's kind of like irritating to me, is like all these people trying to get attached to him because of that moment. You feel me? When we talked about before, like his label dropped him because of his indictment and all that stuff, and now you see them trying to come back into the picture. You have all these brands trying to attach themselves to him because of that moment and what he meant to hip hop before he went into jail. How do you guys feel about seeing things of that nature happen?
I don't know. I think that I don't want to say that everybody's just now attaching themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if these people weren't talking to him while he was in jail. Like
Yeah.
Quavo and GS9, the Migos and GS9 have been mad cool for years.
I'm not
You know what I'm
talking
saying?
about necessarily
Yeah.
Quavo. I know like Quavo, they had
Yeah, I'm just
back in the day. So
yeah, I'm just saying that in a sense of like Meek has probably been in contact with him for a minute. He probably had, like, think about it. Like Meek has went to jail for bullshit.
mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, him being on the phone with Bobby is not surprising to me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised about that because they share similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Someone like Jay-Z, he may have talked to him. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like me seeing like him on the phone with Meek, things of that nature. If I'm thinking about it and just knowing how society is, I'm not gonna sit here and be like they just now attached themselves to him. Probably like bigger like company brands that we don't know. Probably like say for example like a Louis Vuitton sending him a bunch of care packages, all that stuff. I wouldn't be skeptical about that. In fact, I would expect that to happen. You know what I'm saying? But like in terms of like a Meek, a Jay-Z, things of that nature, I don't think that. If anything, I think that they're just happy he's home because they've probably been in contact with him. You know, if anything, I would really wish that these niggas would tell him and Rowdy to stay the fuck home. Like, that's what I would really want them to do. Like, go be with your family. Like, I know you don't want to be alone, but learn how to be free again. Like,
yeah,
I feel like it's kind of forced. Like, let them relax. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've
let
seen
them
them
chill before like just throwing them back into the fire. You feel me? That's how I look at it.
I think with the big brands is like that dropped them. It was like, look at us when they got indicted. We did the right thing. We don't condone this. And then when they come back out, we welcome them with open arms. Look at us. You know what I'm saying? Look at how we give people a second chance. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about image and marketing when it comes back down to it. Again, that bottom line.
And the last thing about the Bobby Shmurda thing is, because we know he had like 2 real big hit records before he went in, and it wasn't too much after that when it comes to discography of music. Do you think that this buildup is not setting him up to fail, but they're setting the bar extra high for him, and we haven't really heard? I'm talking about on the rap side now, the hip hop side, the music side, since we haven't really heard too much from him, or do you think that it's putting him in position to succeed?
I think people are going to be expecting some hot shit from him. I think that whatever he drops is going to do numbers because people have been waiting for so long, and because people love him. And I think that people are going to love it even if it's trash because it's Shmurda in the story.
I think that people need to be patient. Like, you gotta think about it. Like, he came out with one EP. He didn't come out with an album. He came out with one EP before he went to jail. Like, he had at most 3 singles. So you can't really expect somebody who is just getting their feet wet in the music industry to come out and give you like a crazy, crazy good project. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the expectation is going to be there. He's going to do the numbers. But in terms of me thinking that he's going to give us something crazy, no. Like, he's literally a baby in the music industry. And then he went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you can't really think that he's about to sit here and give us like like a finito. Yeah, like a finito. Like, he already gave us his finito already when he was 17. And it's like, then he left for like 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So even though people were probably throwing songs at him while he was in jail, while he was locked up, like, you gotta be patient with him. Like, he's still also learning how to be an artist.
And if it comes out and it's not good and it's trash, people are gonna be like, "But what were you doing for them 7 years? You should have been honing in on your skills." You know how motherfuckers is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of them damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of things. But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna be tuned in.
I still say this to this day. That's why I wish Pop Smoke was still around, bro. Because I feel as though, just for like the New York scene in general, if him, Bobby, and Rowdy, or just him and Bobby just could be able to get on some records, which they might have some stuff that we don't know about or whatever. Maybe like you said, Toby, they could have been sending them records while he was locked up. But that would have been something, bro. That would have been something. That would have been.
They def have records together. Like Rowdy and Pop Smoke got records together. Like, they've all been in contact. So I'm sure they have records together, and Pop probably left them records for them to use. So they have Pop Smoke records. I'm not surprised. If anything, I'd be more surprised if they didn't drop a Pop Smoke record.
I'm talking about more so of him being around still for that.
Yeah.
I feel like that impact would have been something like ridiculous.
Yeah, it would have been crazy for sure.
It would have been crazy. But that's all I got for today, guys. I don't know if y'all got anything else.
Real quick, who y'all think going to NBA Finals? Real quick, 2 teams.
Go ahead, Toad.
It's gonna be Lakers and the Sixers.
I got the Lakers and I'm going with the Nets. I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go with the Lakers and the Nets too.
Like, the Sixers gonna be close. But I think one, the league want to see the Lakers versus Nets. Like, they want to have that, and that KD Bron rivalry, bro. KD was hurt last season. And people are wanting to see that
rivalry.
That'll be the key. The key will be if Kevin Durant can be healthy. That'll be the key.
KD and LeBron is not a rivalry.
Bro, it is and it isn't. It is, though, I think. In the basketball world,
it only is because they're the top 2 players in the world.
The top 2 players, bro, in the league.
That's what it means by rivalry.
Players in the league? Are they not the top 2 players in the league?
They are, but it's not a rivalry because you have to, like, the reason why it's not a rivalry is because every single time KD has played, unless he was not with the Warriors, the nigga was trash. Well, let me not say trash. His team didn't perform. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're telling me it's a rivalry now because he went to the team that trashed him, and now all of a sudden he came back and he two-peated, almost three-peated, and now it's a rivalry all of a sudden. Nah, don't do that. That's disrespectful to LeBron. Not you. I'm just saying people in general.
I'm saying in general too. What I'm saying, it is a rivalry because, like I said, the last time them two played each other, when KD pulled up from inside the logo, I think it was in Cleveland, in Bron's face to win his last ring that he got. People
First of all, it wasn't from the logo. It was from 35 feet.
I said from inside the logo. He pulled up right in Bron's face, bro, in Cleveland to send them home, pretty much, bro. And that's when everybody was giving LeBron the talk.
But that don't make it a rivalry.
Listen, that's when he was trying to give LeBron the talk, saying that KD's the top dog in the league. I didn't say he was top dog in the league, but a lot of
I'm not saying it's you, but you think about it.
Was saying that KD was the top dog in the league. He's the best scorer in the league. LeBron's on the downswing. It's KD's league now. People were saying that. Forget the stuff.
People want to see LeBron and KD match up, bro. They want to see that. People want to see that. People want to see that matchup.
You add Kyrie to the equation, bro. That people paying bucks to see that.
You add Kyrie. You add James Harden perform in the finals. You add in all that. All that comes into play to beat one guy.
And don't get me wrong, AD gonna kick 2, but it's coming down to LeBron versus Kyrie and KD, bro.
I just think if there's a healthy KD come playoff time,
and that's what they're doing right now.
It's gonna be a tough out. It's gonna be a tough out
right now, bro.
Period.
If it's healthy,
because
KD
it's KD.
Healthy KD and healthy AD, I got money that they beat the Nets.
I think they're gonna beat the Nets too. That's my.
I think so too.
If the Nets go to the
Like I
finals,
say, I
think the
don't
Sixers are
bet
going to the
against
finals.
LeBron until he loses. I don't bet against LeBron until he loses. So so even if they do play the Sixers in the finals, I would still go with the Lakers because of LeBron.
Oh no, I think in my opinion, I think the Lakers are. I think the Sixers are a better matchup for them than the Nets.
They're still a piece away. They're a piece away. They need to make something happen at this trade deadline. They're a piece away.
I think they're a piece away too, but I'm not gonna disagree with talking about matchup wise. I'm not gonna disagree with that because if it was let's hypothetical. It is a Sixers Lakers finals. You know what I'm saying?
That game is going.
It'd be
going
beautiful.
Who's gonna get
It'd be beautiful?
Obviously, Ben and Brian are gonna be, and it's gonna be AD and Joel, and you know what I'm saying, doing what they do. Who gets the better of the matchups?
I mean,
I think I don't personally, just because of the way Embiid's been playing this year. AD got bad wheels. I don't know if anybody's locking down Joel Embiid right now. But then again, it's fucking Anthony Davis. He's another top 5 player in the league. You know what I'm saying? The matchups in that are amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. I would love to see Embiid and Anthony Davis go at it.
And have Ben
Simmons guarding LeBron.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Have Ben guarding LeBron. You know what I mean.
I definitely want to see Ben and LeBron because Ben be locking up, bro. I'll give it to him. Ben be playing defense, bro.
He locked down Luka the other night. Didn't lock him down, but he made it tough for him. You're not gonna lock down Luka.
He was picking him up.
He made it tough for him. Yeah, he made it tough for him.
But it'll be interesting to see, man. The NBA playoffs are gonna be something to watch because
the
Nets is not what you think they are. Tell me.
Give me your sleeper teams on each side before we wrap it up.
Going to the playoffs or going to the finals?
No, just in the playoff teams that are going to be in the playoffs most likely. Who's your sleeper team that's going to make like a run? Not necessarily make it to the finals, but make a little run.
I like Charlotte.
Charlotte?
I like LaMelo, bro.
I like LaMelo
a lot. I'm just saying because they play hard. They play extremely hard.
They're a young team.
And out west, I'll probably pick Phoenix.
Phoenix?
To make some noise.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Phoenix out west. And LaMelo and them kind of remind me of, if you go back in time, kind of like the way the style play they have. How remember the Magic, like when Shaq was young and how they was just running up and down the court and the young boys just getting after it. They kind of obviously don't have like the star power and like Shaq or nothing, like, but they compete every night. You feel me?
Yeah. LaMelo's going to be a star.
Of course.
Yeah, he's going to be a star.
He got the bounce. He got the pace. He got all of that, bro. But that's all that guy's gonna be interesting. NBA playoffs gonna be interesting. I don't know. I want to see Bron win another one.
He will.
I want to see Bron win another one. But that's all I got for episode 53 of the Faces of the Future podcast. It's your boy Mills.
It's your boy Shan.
Your boy Moose.
Peace.
Peace.